Mr. Soji, please, I forgot. Help me snap him. I forgot. I started videoing.
Good evening, everyone. Might I pay your indulgence and ask that those in the hall forward? Thank you so much for staying for Creative Economy. I mean, just the exodus out of the room tells me that a lot of people in the room today are from the social impact sustainability sector, and so they have to go for their theme. So if we just move forward very quickly in one moment, we can go into this conversation. Small room nonetheless, it's a power-packed panel. I'm very excited to lead this conversation. It's quite an honor. My name is Izzy Nakioya. I am editor-in-chief of Supply Chain Africa. I also run a communications company. I consider myself to be a retired creative. So it's very exciting to be hosting this conversation for many reasons. It's a space I'm very passionate and excited about. It's also a space I'm very, very invested in. And it's an amazing panel lineup that we have built. So to set the context for the conversation we'll have today, I thought it was necessary to bring some light and some clarity to creative economy. I mean, a lot of the times these days, you have the phrase creative economy, as well as digital economy being used interchangeably. So I thought to just set the context and try to simplify the conversation that we're about to have. So what is Africa's creative economy essentially? The creative economy covers the media, entertainment, beauty and lifestyle, visual arts, tourism, and hospitality. Now what I've done is, rather than have us talk about 5 different subsectors, I've sort of collapsed it into two groups, 2 subsets. So the creative economy is basically 2 subsets. The first subset is Africa's storytelling, which is the African narrative. The second subsector collapses everything else into creative products and services. And that's how we're going to have a conversation today. We're going to talk about Africa's storytelling, and then we'll have a conversation about Africa's culture and creative products and services. Now to the point of narratives. Narratives are identity. So Africa's narrative is Africa's identity. The question to then ask is, what is Africa's story? It's an important question for the news, filmmaking, and online creator economy. On the global stage, Africa's popular narrative is either negative or funny. I don't find that amusing. Worse, we're harmonized and often defined as a country rather than represented by the diversity of our continent. As a people, the stories we tell ourselves about ourselves are lazy stories. They're often copied from international sources. So the question to ask really is, what kind of storytelling and reporting sets the tone for a new African image? And what even is that image? Now, on the side of creative products and services, I'll just share a bit of data to set the conversation up. Today, the continent contributes less than 1% to the global creative economy that is valued at $2.2 trillion. Africa's biggest creative export is its music. Revenue from digital music streaming alone is expected to reach $500 million by 2025. Nollywood is Nigeria's second highest employer next to the agri sector, and creative and cultural industries across Africa generate USD 4.2 billion in revenue. In terms of sector funding, it's in an interesting space. It's in a lot of conversations and a lot of energy directed in the past, say, 1 to 3 years at the sector. The AFDB recently launched a fund in partnership with a couple of private sector organizations, as well about $618 million for the creative and digital economy in Nigeria. Afrexim Bank is one of the big investors in the space. And then from a private sector perspective, we have Amazon Prime, Netflix, Heba Fund in East Africa, as well as West Africa investing in the space. Going into the conversation today, I think it would be good to give some priority to guys who are joining us online. If we just do a quick welcome to Hakim Kai Kazim, who's joining us remotely. Hakim, will you let us know if you're online? I also understand Kenneth Igbo, West African News Editor for Market CNBC Africa, is joining us remotely. Kenneth? Okay. In the absence of those, we'll just go straight into the conversation. The first question I have today is a question of news and how news spreads like wildfire. So digital hyperconnectivity means that news spreads even before it's validated. How can digital mediums be leveraged for the African story that needs to be told? Victor Okhai, do you mind taking that one?
The question is, how
can digital mediums be leveraged for the African story that needs to be told?
Okay. So, the good news and the bad news is that there's a convergence right now of media, which means that everything has basically been reduced to a palm top. And so there's some sort of democratization of the news, of news dissemination. Everyone can literally, generate, not just generate, report their own stories. And while the bad news may seem to be that there is abuse, of course, and a lot of fake news out there, but the good news is that we can also have a counter narrative, unlike what you saw in the past, where you have monopolies of the big media, the majors like AFP, CNN, and BBC, carrying stories, and whatever they say is like is like law. That's news, and that's it. But today we have an opportunity to be able to give a counter narrative. When news comes out that is framed differently from what the actual thing is. And we know what the usual framing is for news about Africa. Poverty, corruption, and all the negative news that is out there. So the advantage we have now is that when news comes out about Africa, from that perspective, we are able to give a counter narrative, and this can go viral as quickly as possible. Because the whole world has been reduced to a global village right now thanks to digital technology.
Thank you so much for that response. Obi, do you want to share a perspective? I mean, I didn't sort of set this up for you earlier on, but do you want to share a perspective on the kind of storytelling that needs to be coming out of Africa that actually enhances the African narrative? What kind of stories need to be coming out of Africa, and what kind of innovation, what kind of ecosystem will support those types of stories?
Thanks. I think it's about being intentional, right? One of the key things we are seeing is that on the continent, African countries have failed dramatically at storytelling. They haven't put it at the core and the center of their countries, which is why you have the imbalance in news reporting. So when you talk about being intentional, if you go through political processes, you see in elections that politicians understand communication is important. The minute the election is over, nobody invests in communication. We are from Africa, this is the land of storytellers. We seem to have forgotten how to tell the story. And that is a big tragedy for us, because it has led to the fact that Africa has been misrepresented for 500 years. So when you complain about how you are perceived, the question is, what are you doing to communicate who you are? What is it? Who is a Nigerian? What does a Nigerian represent? How do we communicate that? These are not things that we seem to have taken apart, either as Nigerians or as Africans. So therefore, there's a massive gap between where we are and where we are.
Industries in Africa. And these three are going to be kind of put together, presented to the governments in Africa. This is to support and to ensure that they understand that this is the data, these are the insights, and these are the recommendations. That way, we don't sound like we're just talking, and it's not backed by facts. So the research, all of this research, commissioned for Africa by Africans, is being done by Africans, and we're hoping that it will make a difference in how government, cultural policy, investment, how it works for the continent in the next 3 to 5 years. So when I look at it from that perspective, there's a lot. There's an infrastructure problem, there's a trade problem, trading across countries in Africa. It's one of the biggest problems we have. The invisible barriers and walls, travel, visa, it's a lot. So when you're talking to government about creatives, it's a big elephant. You need to be able to bite it, from somewhere. And at the British Council, what we decided to do is let the data sink. That way it doesn't look like there's an agenda. And that way it feels more organic for them to say, okay, is it vibrancy? Is it infrastructure? Is it context? Is it trade? Then they start to develop a roadmap around interventions that can support. So I'll put it like that, to say that on the continent, we know our issues. We're now positioned for investment, we're prime. We may not have everything we need, but there's a lot of interest in our content, in our cultural stories, in our identity. I mean, a few summers ago, being Nigerian in England was popular because of Whiskey and Burna Boy and Davido. Everybody wanted to be cool with the kids that were Nigerian. So already you can see that, the story is changing. It's changing. However, if we don't have the infrastructure to support it, there's not much we can do. So that's how I'm answering your very diplomatic question.
But I think sort of shared a perspective on the challenges from a governance perspective, from an infrastructure perspective. But coming to sort of private sector and creator ecosystems, what do you consider to be? I mean, there are a myriad of problems. It's a big elephant. It's multiple subsectors, collapsed into one, creative economy. What else do you consider to be the biggest problem that creatives and the creative economy have to contend with outside of the bit of the work that really lies in the hands of the government to create an enabling environment and ecosystem?
Well, so I mean, there's a few levels to it as well. It's complex, etc. And on the, for lack of better terms, my word is maybe a little slow right now. On the philosophical side of it, there's intellectual, access to distribution, to finance, and so on. But on the more practical side for young creators, it's just oftentimes, simply, access to the tools, right? Or at least even just basic financing to get something made. They're not worried about whether they may be worried whether somebody's going to steal their property or not, but they can't even make it yet, right? And alongside that, there's this pervasive belief that they have to. Let's get specific. We talk about one sector, film, TV. They have the belief that they have to have the best, newest equipment and the latest camera and so on. And so to link those two pieces together, from the philosophical side of things to the practical side of things, I say it's knowledge, right? It's basic knowledge. It's basic knowledge about the implications of the intellectual property of things they're creating. It's basic knowledge of, again, that thing that some of them lose, right? They may be creative, but they don't know how to make it. They think they have to make it on the best equipment and so on. So there's this trepidation or fear of kind of getting involved. So again, to link the real impactful things that are missing, like intellectual property protections,
access to distribution, and on the flip side, the basic things, the basic resources, access to finance. I'd say knowledge is in between. Knowledge in between is a huge missing space with creatives. Again, I'll skip from the entertainment, from the media, film, and TV side to music. These kids know nothing, right? The youngest guy is getting involved in talent is the biggest talents ever, but they don't understand, kind of the fact that when they sit in the studio, you're right then and there creating intellectual property that you own, that others may have a piece on because your friend sat there, smoked a blunt, and sang a verse. It literally has a legal implication on your well-being as an artist. So I think it's like you said, it's a huge, wide-ranging issue. There are major, kind of overarching or looming issues, and the most basic thing is simply knowledge, which is a responsibility, I think, of all of us up here, or at least some aspects of that responsibility. But it's an ongoing thing across the creators.
Understood. So knowledge, for sure, I agree with knowledge being a significant gap in this space. So Hakeem Kaikazim has been online for some time. If you'll just say hello, Hakeem, let's know you're there.
Oh,
Maybe turn up your volume.
Sounds like a radio DJ.
Okay, I'm hoping we get some help in the back end because I know he's been on the call for about an hour or so, but we'll just move on. And then someone can let me know, please. Should he join us? Should we get through to him? So back to you again, Sam. Just taking up from the question of problems and IPs. What is the future of streaming in Africa? How can investors take advantage of the emerging opportunities? What are your thoughts around
that? The streaming, entire streaming space is a very, very complex and capital-intensive space, right? Much less from the content and the back end, content servers and data connectivity. Obviously, the technology to build streaming is very, very challenging. So I think that, I hate to say this, but I think that the prospects for African streaming currently are limited, right? The only current player on the continent that's making any sense at all is Showmax, obviously with huge, parents behind them. I think it's recently been split off into a UK entity that's owned by MultiChoice in South Africa. But for all of the, and again, I almost hate to be saying it, but for all of the media businesses, the guys who made some cool content. I think I don't want to say names, but there's some digital media companies who've done well and grown an audience. So that starting a media streaming platform, I'm like, this is why I'm very afraid, because it is a, while it's a simple or simplistic idea, here it is, press play and watch when you want to. The back end is incredible. Netflix, not only had reportedly a few years ago a $17 billion content budget, but also has a team of about 500 engineers who spend day in and day out simply working on their recommendation engine. Right. So the scope is massive, right? On the flip side, I think for creators, for content, owners, people who write, directors, I think it's incredible, right? It's incredible because now there's a faster and easier route to market, to distribution. It's forcing them to improve the quality of what they're doing, not only the visual quality, but the writing, everything, because as we compete on a global stage, we find that your content is only being watched by some few Nigerians in the UK and nowhere else, as opposed to Squid Games, which became a global sensation. So I don't want to be a doomsday sayer. I think that there are a few projects that are happening in very early days that may see difficulty ahead in terms of a truly African-owned and developed streaming business, but it will happen in the future. It may not be right now, but it will happen.
Obi, do you want to share some thoughts?
Yeah, I just want to disagree with Sam. You want to disagree? Yeah, you know, somebody has to have on the panel. I'm going to disagree. But no, in the sense that he's 100% right. Streaming, a lot of people have launched streaming platforms on the continent, and it almost feels like a vanity play, just what it's saying in a nice way. But because the kind of resources you need, I mean, if you look at the 3 big streaming platforms that are global, I think Netflix with 200 million subs, Amazon Prime with 120 million, Disney with 100 plus million. If you see that budget, you know that you shouldn't even be trying to compete at a particular level. But I would say that there are people building platforms on the continent. There's a specific one, I just don't want to mention the name, I'm not doing brand promotion. But there are local platforms that are offering significant opportunities, alternate opportunities. I think also fast channels are going to be key going forward on the continent. And fast channels are basically free channels that are ad supported. I think that's going to be very important. And then when we talk about streaming, let's also talk about the music side. Because obviously you see Spotify and Apple Music everywhere. You see Audio-Mac in Nigeria. There's Beidou, which is a Nigerian platform that has enormous traction in terms of numbers, but is not necessarily seeing revenue right now, which is on a freemium model. So the thing about these platforms, and I'm a big advocate of the need for more domestic platforms built, owned, and operated by Africans. On this continent right now, everything sits on YouTube or on AWS servers. So big tech dominates everything. Right now, we are creating the content at the tip of the spear, which is pushing through, and we're breaking algorithms worldwide. That's what the music industry is doing. That's why you're seeing stadiums sold out. We've broken the cap. Nollywood is in the same journey to break the algorithm so that you can begin to see Nollywood movies in box office worldwide and on domestic television in 200 countries, not just on the screens, right? So I think if I'm looking at it from the perspective of visual content, we want to get beyond the screens. We want to get to television. That's where the money is. We need to fix domestic television in Nigeria as well. I'm looking at it from the music side. What everybody's looking for is more platforms and more distribution and more access. So really, that's still something that can happen in terms of curation and AI. It's going to change a lot of things in terms of people who are coming up with new, because if you think about it, 20 years ago, whatever, I used to DJ. The DJ determines what you listen to, right? The DJ determines what you listen to. Today is the playlist, and the playlist is around an algorithm. If you listen to any particular song on any of these platforms today, the next time you go to that platform, it's going to send you 500 songs similar to the one you just listened to, right? And it's going to be very hard for you. If there are 85 million songs on the platform, it's very hard for me to find your song unless I know about you. And that's a specific type of marketing that needs to bring it to the attention of the audience in the first place. So algorithms and attention and all these different things make you to understand that this is very, very serious business. A lot of times in Africa, they look at this thing like it was vocational, it's a sideline conversation. It's not, it's the main conversation. This is what we create is what feeds millions. But how can we get more of the value out of what we create? That's
Sorry, I forgot where I was sitting. Sorry, sir. No, I very, very valid points. I guess I focused on specifically on that streaming, but it's very valid. Yeah, so
Yes. Yeah, but you also said something very valuable. I think on the underlying the lack of significant investing in this space is a perception problem.
What's the perception?
The perception problem that the creative sector is a vocational space.
Well, I think,
Essentially.
I mean, sorry to interrupt, but let me tell you something. The embarrassing thing as an African, I mean, Sam knows this, we that are in the sector know this. The music industry of Nigeria has not been invested in by anybody in Nigeria except those of us in the industry, right?
Same thing I would say with Nollywood. Nollywood has maybe seen a bit more money from the government and incentives. But the reality is, the money that is chasing these sectors, none of it is African. The money is coming from all over the world looking for us. You talk to the Nigerians and say, what is this? I don't understand. Okay, don't say that I don't understand. But Disney is coming to talk to you today, right? So the question is, if we're getting the attention of the world, why are other people not understanding what is happening right in front of them? That's the question.
I think that in my sense, that's a bit of a judgment, but again, I'm a moderator on this panel, so I'll move the conversation forward. I do think that culturally, as much as we love the arts and the creatives, culturally, and from an investor perspective, there are biases that make that sector not very easy to invest in. But it also kind of segues into my next question. My next question was the question of simplicity. Okay, the creative industry value chains are complex, just like you explained. Some of the terms you used just now must have gone over somebody's head here, if I'm not incorrect, right? So it's a bit of a complex play, right? Who's the scriptwriter? Who's the director? Where does the money go? How does the money come out at the other end, right? So when you have a complex value chain that people don't really understand, maybe there's an excuse for why you haven't seen significant private sector funding. Maybe not. The question is, what strategies can potential investors adopt? Right? Moving forward. Brenda, do you want to take that one?
Every industry has a supply chain, a value chain, and every industry has its specific peculiarities and all of that. The way we are with the tech now, because first of all, my first degree is in computer science, and I remember doing number portability as my project I don't know, and it was like a dream. Even me, when I put it together, it was like witchcraft. You know that how are you going to move your number from one platform to the other? You know, my point is, tech has flourished. It is not as complex. It is not more complex than the creative industries, film, music, whatever it is. You understand? Tech has flourished, and it has flourished well. So, no, I don't agree that it's about simplistic terminology and all that. It's still about investing in the infrastructure, in education. For example, number one, there are no professional trade schools for musicians and actors and visual artists. We have no professional trade schools. We have Yabatech, we have departments of arts, we have all sorts of makeshift, but nobody's teaching. And if nobody's teaching, nobody's developing, nobody is evolving, nobody gets that. Nobody's doing it. The research is non-existent. Nobody's keeping the numbers, nobody's, archiving. You want your archives, you need to go to England to go and get it. So it's still about that investment. That will change the perception. Thankfully, for Nollywood and Afrobeats, people now know, okay, if your song blows, you know what that means. You understand? That's the basic language for the average Nigerian. It's popular in blue. The song they blow for WhatsApp, they blow for TikTok. But outside of that, nobody else is looking at it from all of the other values that it encompasses. And if I was going to go back to your question, which was, you need to say it again.
What strategies can potential investors adopt?
Exactly. So first of all, investors also need to invest in research. That's the only way you know where the gap is and what you need to do to fill it. If you're not investing in research, I don't know how you're building a business, because everybody says go and do the feasibility study. The feasibility study is your research. So that's the first thing. You need to do that. You need to find out how many streams does Ghana boy have in Tanzania in comparison to Egypt. You need to decide that it's something you want to pursue. You need to say, okay, what are the barriers? Why can't people stream more? The cost of data, whatever it is your intervention will be, has to come from a data lens. You need to have all of the information first. When you have that, then you can say, okay, let's collaborate. Let's work with the local players. Let's go and talk to an Obi Asika, and find out what's going on. Because I find quite a number of investors come in based on, and I don't know how this happens. It's always about due diligence. They don't do the due diligence, and as a result, they end up in partnerships that are weird and funny. You understand? And then everybody's like, oh, working in Nigeria is difficult. And it's not true. But if you're not invested in the local ecosystem, how would you know? You're not building collaborations, you're not. So it's simple things like what I'm saying, very simple, but it's complex when you're thinking about the relationships that you need to build to be able to achieve what you're doing. So it's still about doing this due diligence, getting the research and ensuring that you're talking to the right people.
Understood. So we are sort of rounding off, so we can give room for questions to come in from the room. But ahead of that, I have one final question for you, Brenda, and I'd like Obi to speak to them as well. What subsectors have the highest potential for future success? And why? Brenda, you can go first.
Of course, music. As it is now, Afrobeat is music. Afrobeat is very popular, it's great. However, we haven't exploited it. How is it featured in films? What else are the value chain, all the other useful potential for music? We don't have a great performing arts, and this is theatre now. We don't have that big theatre industry in Nigeria. Music has a huge place in the theatre. We're not done with that. We're looking at fashion. We need to sort out our textile making industry, right? Yes, maybe Nigeria is fantastic. We're not making the textile. We don't have the cotton plantations. We don't have the farms for cotton. I'm thinking visual arts. With NFTs. And people leaving tech out of it, just visual arts on its own. You know how pricey artwork is, and then the commercialization of artwork, how that becomes value to the artists. So I'm looking at music. Film is a no-brainer. There's so much, but visual arts, music, film, fashion, those growth sectors we're sitting on crude oil as I'm concerned. All of those sectors are like the next oil boom if we can harness.
Fantastic. Obi?
Yeah, you're efficient. What I would just say to that is I think music is like our arrowhead, but music doesn't go alone, right? Music takes with it culture, it takes dance, it takes fashion, it takes attitude, and it takes food as well. So the music is a social tool that goes beyond just being music. And it travels without a visa as well. And then when you look at the fact that we are in the attention economy, the creative industries of Nigeria, by the way, there are a lot more than 5 mentioned, but the creative industries of Nigeria, minimum, have at least 1 billion followers in social media today. It's not a potential thing, that is today, 2023. The gap is that places like our area markets, which have the capacity to make the product, to back that soft power, are disconnected. So in our country, we have disconnected markets, right? So the biggest opportunity, whilst we're going worldwide, the biggest opportunity remains the domestic opportunity in Nigeria. Because as much as Brenda hits stadiums worldwide, he can sell out 60 stadiums in Nigeria. Do you understand what I'm saying? All of our artists have domestic touring in Nigeria is $1 billion industry waiting to be activated. Domestic product and merchandise is $1 billion industry waiting to be activated. When we talk about Hollywood, I tell people all the time, Nigerian television is what you need to activate because that will bring the advertising dollar so that our television domestic market should be at least a $3 billion market by 2030. So it's not about, I think we're way past the days of, when we started doing this stuff, I used to tell people all the time, I call it show business, right? You have to validate the show. We validated the show at least 10 years ago. So it's all about business now. So anybody that wants to come and listen, if you're a bank or a financier, there are places in this world that have been financing IP for 100 years. In London, in Hollywood, in New York, in Berlin, in Russia, in China, they've been funding IP, fashion, films, music. So let's not hide behind that. Let us actually put the pressure on the funders to go and do some work, like Brenda said, and bring out this money to fund the people that have the time.
Fantastic, Libby. Victor, some thoughts?
Yeah, well, I think that there's a need, and I see that even in the questions and the answers here, that the same attitude that has persisted over the years still persists. And that's the hangover, carryover from the days of Baba Salah and Allah others, were considered in Nollywood as if we're, how do I put it now, best court jesters. But things have changed. Along the value chain of the movie industry, you have not less than 250 unique professions, jobs that are created along the value chain. This is something we've not exploited at all. You see this negative attitude even with our banks. The central bank was given money by the federal government for Nollywood. And there's a fine if you do not disperse of this form. They would rather give this money out and pay the fine because they don't seem to understand what this is all about. If we're talking about changing the narrative, if we're talking about creating impact locally and globally, I think that there's a need to look at this particular industry. The numbers are there and they're speaking. When we talk about numbers, it's not just about the actors. Look at the infrastructure. Look at the cinema houses, for instance. Okay, look at the opportunities that come. If you go to a place like Asaba, call it whatever you want, but the jobs that it creates. And just coming here, I think you read it out saying the second largest employer after agriculture. When you look at an industry like that, I think that until we become intentional, then we'll be missing out on the goal that is sitting before us. This is one industry that has helped to reshape the narrative about who we are as a people. I remember this happened in the Caribbean where, this was a story that was told to me. Someone, who visited, said, someone in the Caribbean just said, I said, you don't know what you guys have done for us. I mean, they literally feed on knowledge. They said, until now, we had always, the representation of us as Black people has always been from the West, and it's always in subservient position. But for the first time, we started seeing Black people empowered. Black people living in big houses as orgas and as all that. And this is something that has happened it's not just there, but across Africa. It has liberated so many. The same way Hollywood impacted us here, Nollywood has also been for me. It's consciously and unconsciously the truth for neo-colonization right now. And cultural neo-colonization. How do I mean? You go to a place like Kenya or wherever, their fashion is being, shaped by Hollywood. It's not content by tailors. I want that. Okay? You go and you hear people speaking English. I'm on the Nigerian, what you call it now, Oscar selection panel for Nigeria here. And we succeeded in making pidgin English recognized now as an official language for the Oscars. Okay? Now, these are the things that we're going to shape. We don't seem to recognize and know what we have. Even the government does not. Which is why, if there's any sector, there's a one boy, but I can tell you something. He is one individual. And so, whatever money he makes, is he and his bandmate. It doesn't trickle that, it doesn't create employment. The money he makes, I'll tell you, this boys would rather put their money out there. And guess what's happening right now? All the, what do you call them now? Collections. What do you call the evidence collections right now? Collecting societies, they are taking this people. Revenue that should come to Nigeria now, all these rights are going to all these people. We're losing I mean, literally millions of dollars right now because of the unintentionality of our government and the very attitude of most of us as a people. Because if you look down in this industry, we're still looking at Nollywood and Babasanga. We're still looking at it as well. It is unfortunate, but until we rise up and smell the coffee, we will continue to miss out on what the opportunity.
Fantastic. So we'll try one last time to get Hakeem to share some thoughts. Hakeem and Ken, if you're online still, please say hello. Unfortunately not. Unfortunately not. Okay, so last thoughts from you, Sam, and then we'll end with Brenda.
I mean, I really hope that we can move from talk to action. You know, I've been on a few panels, Obi. We've talked about things, you know, and not a lot is being done. It's still individualized, it's still single, it's still one. It's not a collective, it's not galvanized for force, for movement. So I hope we can move from
Talking to doing.
talk to action. And that's what I just want to say.
Fantastic. From talk to action. Sam, were you going to say something before we take a few questions from the audience?
No, I think that Brenda said the perfect thing, right? Because to your point, and we all sat on panels, you talked about this, and to be honest, there has been some things. There were some things that adapted, but until we can at least to some degree, and to at the risk of repeating what's been said up here, a lot of the responsibility does lie on the government. Because in this simple thing that I was about to say, until we can almost set aside our own personal, personal or even organizational objectives to a degree, to sit and say, okay, how can I partner with even competitors or whatever to and build communities and drive, whether it's advocacy to government or change in industry, it's going to be very tough. We're all scattered. It's very fragmented, and it leaves us kind of treading water, hoping to move forward without as much progress as we see. So, I mean, without making a pledge, I'm very eager to find those ways to do that and actively looking for those types of partnerships.
Thank you, Sam. Okay, we're back. Do you have any questions from the audience? Take 2 questions quickly.
Okay. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Obi Asika, and I'm the founder of Social Enterprise. And when I saw the creative economy, I was excited, and then I realized it was just media and entertainment. And I was shocked and, sort of disappointed that we are not talking about fashion. This is because fashion is one of the largest waste generating sector in the world, right? And one of the reasons why I'm instigating this for us to talk about fashion is because I did a survey a few months ago among fashion designers. 3 out of 5 fashion designers say they dispose their waste through waste management, which inevitably ends up in the landfill, which water's going to run through them. We have plastic fibers in the fabrics, which get to our water bodies, and then the fishes consume, and then we go to the market to buy fishes, and we don't know we are consuming plastic fibers from the clothes that were dumped on landfills. And then 4 out of these fashion designers say they prefer to burn them if waste management does not show up. So I mean, we should also have a representative of the fashion industry on that panel list where we can ask them, I'm a fashion designer. I have a community of fashion designers, and I told them I'm coming to Africa's Social Impact Summit. I'm coming back with strategies. I'm coming back with solutions, and I'm not seeing that here. Please, I hope this doesn't fall on the wrong side, and I hope maybe next year something will be done about that. Thank you very much.
Let me speak to that briefly. I mean, I think first of all, we can only answer the questions that were asked, right? That's the first thing. But to give you an insight, I was privileged to lead the technical working group that brought the creative industries, cultural industries, hospitality and tourism, numbering about 28 industries to the National Development Plan in 2019 to 2021. We held working groups with at least a working group from the fashion industry, 26 members. So there is deep knowledge about what's going on in fashion. I would even go so far as to say that the fashion industry is the single biggest arm of the creative industries in Nigeria today. So congratulations to you. I think fashion, the issue in fashion goes beyond what you're talking about. When you're talking about the sort of climate aspect of it and the waste side. The real issue with fashion that we were seeing is the disconnection in markets, right? So people are not engaging contract manufacturing at the right level. They're not getting finishing at the right level to get their product into retail. Retail is not fully developed, do you understand? So when people talk, that's why when I was saying earlier, when people say to Nollywood filmmakers, you're not structured, or the music industry, you're not structured, it's not them that are not structured. Nigeria is not structured. And you don't have the built infrastructure. If you existed in a different country doing this business, you could go into a manufacturer who do the contract manufacturing for you, outsource the whole thing, position it into retail stores. But here in Nigeria, you better find your logistics partner, you have to find your retail partner. So everybody who's a startup in these sectors in Nigeria has my utmost respect because we know what's involved. So, I mean, next time maybe they'll have to put a fashion person specifically on the panel. I just wanted to let you know, you have a conversation, you're aware of it.
Fantastic.
Very briefly, yes.
Okay, Brenda?
Yeah.
Brenda, go on. Thank you.
Okay.
So, you're talking about sustainable fashion.
Yeah.
Oluwadenisi. Sustainable fashion. It's a practice that we used to have as a country. Unfortunately, we don't manufacture textile anymore, and I think that with the dearth of the textile industry, a lot of practice also died. And I'm going to tell you what we do, for fashion. Fashion is a big part of what we do in the British Council for our creative economy work. And we started our sustainable fashion program in Kenya, and we've scaled it to Ethiopia. Hopefully in the next 2 years, we'll be scaling it into West Africa. And what we're focused on is slow fashion. But, from a slow fashion, the opposite of fast fashion, which, first of all, there's a consumer challenge, which we can't solve as players in the industry. There's a consumerism, fast-paced consumerism. That is why we have so many people making clothes, because people want to wear them. So there's a conversation that needs to be had from a sustainability, waste management, control place, where there's an appeal to the minds of people around how to use their clothes, wear their clothes, dispose of their clothes. That's a public good conversation that needs to be had, probably maybe by arms of government to start, but also by a lot of the organizations here today. Yes, a lot of us sitting on this table are business people in the art sector who can't really speak to, but can have a sustainability strand in the work that they do. So as British Council, a lot of the work we do in fashion is around slow fashion, is around sustainable practice, it's around kind of helping heritage fashion practices come back, not to lose them, and around all of that, you still have to remember that the designer must make a profit, must have a business. So in this, I want to charge you to take some responsibility around getting a collective of fashion designers to mainstream sustainability into what they do. It might take a hit on your bottom line to do some good, but there are materials you can decide you don't want to work with anymore, or you want to recycle clothing in a way that people will still find attractive. So these are some of the things we do. We give quite a number of grants to sustainable practice, to climate change. We do a lot of work in our heritage sector around that. But like I said, this particular panel was around the creative economy, the economy of creative economy. So we may not be able to give you those solutions, but I imagine that there are a few people that have stands in this space that are doing a lot of work in sustainability, and you should reach out to them.
Thank you very much. So, Brenda has done a lot of justice to the question there, but I think one aspect that I think that the fashion, and by grace, fashion also fits into Northern as well, along is part of our value chain. But one aspect that the head of the American consulate here, the US consulate here, did speak to, AGOA is still valid, African Growth Opportunity Act. It is mainly geared towards fashion. You can get your clothes out here, send them to the US, not import duties, especially now that dollar is worth its weight in gold, so to say. I think that this is one area, and with the African Continental Free Trade Area Agreement, that people in fashion should begin to take advantage of. AGOA is still on. This is the time to organize even better, take advantage of it, and if you like, get someone out there, put whatever if you like, form cooperatives, and have people who will be uptakers up there. Not only will help you drive your brand because you are selling fashion through our movies. There's a collaboration. We all work together and then see how you can begin to send this out there and make the necessary foreign exchange, and hopefully will help us back in this economy at this time.
Thank you so much. One more question, please.
Thank you very much.